All right, all of the notes handed in. And you've got some notes to get back as well. The TAs will give them to you when they're ready. Our plan for today is we're going to go through the decibels tutorial. We're going to mark the exercises for Chapter 8. And if we have time, which I really doubt, we're going to go on to Chapter 9. So we were going to start with the decibels tutorial. And do you have your calculators ready? You won't need them much, but there's a little part that uses a calculator. This is going to be more than you probably need to know about decibels, but 接触过, it's going to be more familiar to you the next time you run into something having to do with decibels. And like I said, we're mostly not going to be tested on this in the final unless I mention specifically something will be included. So you can sort of see from the cover pictures what's going on here. Here we've got sound as we hear it at 1 meter, at 2 meters, at 4 meters. That just gives you an idea of what's coming. Conversation at pretty close range is about 65 decibels. A car passing at 50 feet, 75 decibels. And a big truck passing at 50 feet, about 85 decibels. This may not mean that much now, except you can see the numbers going up, but you'll understand them better as we go along. Air pressure and sound. When we talk about sound, we're talking about changes in air pressure. Air pressure at sea level is about 101,325 pascals, which is written capital PA. And this is about 1 atmosphere. These are just down wave that we use in physics to measure things like air pressure. Or about 14.7 pounds per square inch, and that's PSI, or 1 kilogram per square meter. That's much easier to remember, isn't it? So if we have 1 square centimeter of space about this big in like a pillar that just goes straight up, the weight on us, the weight of the air pushing down on us, is about 1 kilogram per square centimeter. That's pretty easy to understand, right? So the other ones are just 换算成别的单位. This will register as 76 centimeters or 760 millimeters or 29.92 inches of mercury on a mercury barometer. What's a barometer? What's a barometer? That's right, 就是量气压的. And if the air pressure is higher, it's going to push down more, and that's going to push the mercury in a barometer up further. So that's what we are measuring here is air pressure, the air pressure that's on top of us all the time at sea level. Micropascal and pascal. The variations in air pressure that our ears hear as sound are very, very small. That's one thing you need to know from the beginning, is that these variations in air pressure that we hear as sound, the variations are really, really tiny. They're between 20 micropascals, which we write in this way, or 0.00002, and that is 2/100ths of a pascal, or newtons per square meter, or 0.0002, which is 2/10,000ths microbar, or dyne per square centimeter, and 20 pascals. Now that probably meant nothing to you, but it's going to mean something to you a little more as we go along. Because this 20 micropascals, or 2/100ths of a pascal, these units represent the very, very smallest sound that we can hear, the very smallest differences in air pressure that will register as sound in our ears. So 20 micropascals, that's pretty easy to remember. And they go all the way up to 20 pascals. We've changed our unit from micropascal to pascal. So the very, very softest sound we can just barely hear, 20 micropascals. The very, very loudest sound that we can tolerate is about 20 pascals. Okay? And this just shows you this 图表 here, this tool here that they have, the differences in air pressure as a sound wave, as a sine wave. Now, we're going to talk about power and watts. Power, or sound energy, W equals work, radiated by a source per unit of time is measured in watts. We're going to find a way to measure the energy of sound. We can use power to measure sound. And what is power? Power is work. That's just how much energy is radiated divided by time. So power includes work or energy plus time together. So far, so good? You don't have to memorize anything, just be familiar. When we're talking about power, we're talking about energy and time, these two things. So it's energy divided by time. Watt and picowatt. The faintest sound we can hear, which is 2.00002, and that comes out to tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000ths. That's 200,000ths of a Pascal. It translates into 10 to the negative 12th power watts, not watt, right? That's what we use to measure the energy of sound. So this is a very, very tiny, tiny bit of energy. It's 10 to the negative 12th power. You can see all those zeros. That's one teeny tiny part of a watt. This is called a picowatt. The loudest sound our ears can tolerate, like we've just mentioned, is 20 pascals, and that's about 1 watt. So this just gives you an idea of the scale. 我们的尺度是这样子. This teeny tiny part of a watt, up to 1 watt. 1 watt is already a sound. We can't stand it because it's too loud. It's going to hurt our ears. And here's the power comparison between London to New York, from London to New York. The physicist Alexander Wood once compared this range from loudest to quietest to the energy received from a 50-watt bulb situated in London, ranging from close by to that received by someone in New York. To give you a better idea of the difference between this quietest sound and the loudest sound, we're going to compare it to the brightness of a lamp. And it's kind of a far-fetched comparison, but rather valid. We're going to pretend now that there is a bulb, a light bulb, a 50-watt light bulb that's turned on in London. And if you're standing right next to that light bulb, that's like the most powerful sound we can hear. And if you compare it to how much a person in New York is going to feel the brightness of that light bulb, that's like the quietest sound we can hear. Now, is anybody in New York going to notice that 50-watt bulb in England? Probably not. So they just want you to know that there is just this huge, huge difference between the loudest and the smallest sounds. There's just a huge, huge difference between the two. We'll do another comparison. Here's a power comparison. If we got a lot of people making noise to power a light bulb, how much would it take? It has been estimated that it would take more than 3 million voices all talking at once to produce power equivalent to that which can light a 100-watt lamp. So if you have a 100-watt light bulb, which they don't sell anymore because everything is now compact fluorescent bulbs or LEDs, but using an old incandescent bulb, if you wanted to light up a 100-watt lamp, you would need 3 million people all talking at the same time. That's how much power it would take to light up a 100-watt light bulb. Okay? Pressure and amplitude. Now we've talked about 振幅 amplitude in relation to air pressure, and this gives you a little more information about it. Amplitude is the objective measurement of the degree of change, positive or negative, in atmospheric pressure, 气压, the compression and rarefaction. Compression 是压缩, rarefaction 是把它那个放松, of air molecules caused by sound waves. So far, so good? So sound waves create a series of variations in air pressure. And amplitude is the way we use to measure those variations in air pressure. The amplitude of a pendulum swinging, 摆子, through an angle of 90 degrees is 45 degrees. So if a pendulum is swinging 90 degrees, 90度, 这个的一半就是45度, right? That would be equivalent to the amplitude that we're talking about. Because an air pressure goes up and a sine wave goes up and it goes down, 对不对? 气压会变大然后再放松. 所以往上往下我们就取一半. That's why it's 45 degrees. Okay, so we're going to cut things in half because we've got the pressure wave going up and down. It is half the maximum pressure change in the air as the sound wave propagates. So far, so good? 大概懂了啊。Intensity. The density of power passing through a surface perpendicular 是垂直 to the direction of sound propagation is called intensity. With power, we've got energy over time. Now we're adding in something else, space. Intensity includes space. So the sound is going through a surface perpendicular to the direction it's propagating itself in. That's intensity. It's usually measured in watts. Or if we picture a sound wave as an expanding sphere of energy, 好像个地球一样，像个球形一样. Power is the total amount of kinetic, that means moving, energy contained on the sphere's surface. 这个球形的表面，它的那个 energy 多少，这个就是 intensity， 因为它已经分配在一整个大空间上面。Okay? So intensity is going to sort of spread it out and water it down because it's spreading out over space. Intensity, sound transmitted per unit time through a unit area. So far, it's clear, right? Intensity is measured in power per unit of area. 所以我们取一个表面面积的一个值啊，那声音在这个表面上面分配是它的 intensity. So this is how we measure it. Per unit of area, usually in watts per square meter. 就是平方米 ，OK， 平方公尺。然后呢，就是 watts 会除以一个平方公尺来算。Or watts, you could also use 平方那个公寸，叫什么？公分也可以。Intensity is proportional to the square of the amplitude， 就是振幅的平方。If you double the amplitude of a wave, that is, if the ratio of the amplitudes of two sounds is 1 to 2, the ratio of the intensities is 1 to 4. Tripling the amplitude results in a ratio of 1 to 9. So we're squaring it, 因为它会分配。我们用一个平方来算，它分配它会变得比较淡，因为这些东西是0点几的数字，所以你用乘的，用取个平方的话，它会越来越小，因为它分配在空间上，它会慢慢的削弱。The intensity of a wave in a free field. The intensity of a wave in a free field drops off as the inverse square of the distance from the source. 所以你离这个来源越远，它分配的那个面积越广，所以它越来越削弱，越来越淡。然后我们就是用这种方式来算。So radius, 2 times the radius, 3 times the radius, 它的那个 intensity 就会这样子来算。Okay, 1 1/4 1/9等。And there is our formula. The inverse square law plot. So the distance from a point source, if we start out at 1, 越远，那个声音就是这样子越来越小，因为它一直在分配，好像在冲淡一样。Our units of measurement, 这些是做参考。Sound pressure 是什么？ The total instantaneous pressure at a point in space， 空间的某一个点，它瞬间的气压。In the presence of a sound wave， 就是一个声波造成的 ，minus the static pressure at that point， 那边会有一些阻力，对不对？那些阻力是 static pressure。Sound pressure amplitude is the absolute value of instantaneous pressure. Absolute value 表示说一定要一个正的，不能有一个负的一个数字。它的单位是 Pascal. Sound power is sound energy, the ability to do work, radiated by a source per unit of time. Power 讲过了，是 energy， 然后呢把 time 也算进去了。That's sound power. Sound intensity is the average rate of sound energy transmitted in a specific direction at a point through a unit area normal to this direction at the point considered. 就是现在加上空间。Our unit is watt per square meter or per square centimeter. 这些等于都是复习。The sound pressure level is the sound pressure squared reference to 20 micropascals squared measured in decibels. 这个等一下会讲清楚一点。我们从这里会跳到分贝怎么算的。OK? because we are talking about space, time, we're measuring intensity, and we're going to change intensity into decibels or decibels. Commonly, how loud the sound is measured in decibels. Okay? Let's do another comparison. And this is to help us understand how our ears can handle such a huge range of different sound pressures that create sound. When we hear that teeny tiny sound, we have to really concentrate so we can hear it, right? If I go, you all have to be quiet and listen very carefully, right? But for a very, very loud sound, we're going to start plugging our ears because we can't stand it. But our ears can handle this huge range of sounds. Remember the light bulb in London and how much you can see it in New York? It's just an enormous range of sounds. We'll be clearer on that as we go along. So how can our ears handle it? 是肉做的, right? Things are very fragile in our body, actually. Too much bright light and your eyes can't stand it. So we're having the same thing with sound. What is it in our bodies that helps us adjust from such a teeny tiny variation in pressure to such a big one? Well, the muscles in the iris. What is the iris? Louder? Tongkong is the pupil. What's the iris? What do you call that? Homo, yeah, that's what it is. This is the iris. They have their muscles in there. They can contract, 收缩, or dilate, 放大, the pupils to adjust the amount of light coming into our eyes. And we're all aware of that. If I walk into this light, it's suddenly going to make my pupils become smaller. That's because the bright light is going to 刺激 the muscles in the iris, and they're going to make the iris 缩小. So my pupils become very small. That way, not too much light will go in and possibly damage the retina. So that's how eyes work. In an analogous way, 我们现在做一个类比. The middle ear, 我们的中耳, has a mechanism which can adjust the intensity of sound waves striking our eardrums. There is something sort of similar in our middle ear that adjusts the way our ears respond to sound. If it's a tiny sound, 它可能会放松. If it's a big sound, 它可能会这样子，就是准备着，有个很吵的一个声音，就是不要让它来伤到我。就像你的那个肚子，你平常可能放松，可是你知道人家要去打你的肚子的时候，你就会把它弄得很硬，对不对？比较不会受伤。Okay, so our eyes do it, our ears do it as well. And this mechanism can adjust the intensity of sound waves striking our eardrums. This adjustment enables us to discriminate very small changes in the intensity of quiet sounds. So when the sound is very quiet, we're very, very sensitive, and we can notice even teeny, teeny, tiny differences. But it also enables our ears to be much less sensitive to volume changes in louder noises. When the noises get too loud, then 它就会把自己弄硬掉了, so that they will not be injured and then we are less sensitive. This means that the human ear can safely hear a huge range of very soft to very loud sounds. So we've said this in many different ways. We're saying it again. That is a truly, truly amazing thing about our ears, the range of different sounds that we can handle safely. Logarithms and the decibel scale. If you hear a sound of a certain loudness, and then you are asked to choose a sound that is twice as loud as the first sound, the sound you choose will in fact be about 10 times the intensity of the first sound. 所以你听到一个声音，然后呢，你就听到很多不同的声音，你要选一个你认为是第一个声音的2倍大声。你选的那个声音，其实在强度上是10倍的强度。Do you see what we're saying? You think it's only twice as loud. Your ear tells you 这两个比较起来，这个做 bass 的话，这个声音感觉好像是这个声音的2倍大声。But when we pick that sound, the difference in intensity is 10倍. That's why we use logarithms. Everybody understand now why we pick logarithms? 因为它是10倍为单位，它这样子可以一格一格的上去，就是用那个10倍做一个单位。要不然我们的 scale 会太大，因为那个声音，我们就是说到最小的声音，耳朵很敏感，我们就可以把那个整个尺度缩小。 到了大的时候，它就等于是放大了。到大的时候，它就会缩小整个尺度，要不然它就会太大了。它等于是把整个东西弄得很 compact. For this reason, a logarithmic scale, one that goes up by powers of 10, is used to measure the loudness of a sound. The exponent, what is the exponent? This is the exponent right here. That's the exponent. What do you call it in Chinese? 指数, right. Okay, the exponent of a number here, we use only 10, is its logarithm. Actually, we can do base 2 logarithms. We can do other kinds of logarithms, but we're only using base 10 here. Example of a base 10 logarithm is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 equals 10,000. That's 1 with 4 zeros. So that is 10 to the 4th power, right? 10 to the 4th power. And in log 10, 10,000 equals the logarithm. Or if we want the logarithm of 10,000, it's 4. 我们只要去数它的零就是它的 logarithm. Everybody's familiar with that? We've already done the tutorial. What is a decibel? A decibel, and that's a lowercase d with a capital B, is a unit for comparing the intensity of 2 different sounds. That's something you should remember from the tutorial. When we're talking about decibels, we're not talking about power, we're talking about intensity. 它是时间和空间都算进去了. So, a decibel is a unit for comparing. The other important thing to remember here is that decibels always involve a comparison, and I mentioned that last class, if you remember. Decibels are not an absolute unit of measurement. You are always comparing sound B to sound A. Sound A is your base. Sound B 跟 sound A 来比的话差多少 ？Decibel 就是这两个不同的声音的方法，做一个比较。Not an absolute unit. The usual basis of comparison. 那我们要用什么东西做我们的那个最基本的一个 comparison 的单位呢？ It's a barely audible sound. It's the one we've already talked about. It's the sound we can just barely hear. 很勉强听得到这样子的一个声音。And we set it at, how much is it? Tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Remember, it's 2 100,000ths of a Pascal. And that's what we label as 0 decibels. Okay? Bells and decibels. The unit used to compare the intensity of sounds was originally the bell, in commemoration of the work of Alexander Graham Bell, that's him right there, which was the logarithm of the intensity ratio 10 to 1. 所以等于我们原来去掉了一个零。This unit was considered too large. 我们原来的整个 range 只有1到12 1 bell to 12 bells. 我们原来就是这样一个尺度，可是又觉得这些 units 太大了，我们总共只有12个，每个 unit 就会很大，对不对？ So we multiplied it by 10. A unit 1/10 the size of a bell. 或者你可以说每一个 unit 把它除以10就对了，变成10块而不是1块。The decibel was adopted. Okay? So 本来是 bell， 觉得那个每个 unit 太大，把每个 unit 切成10块，就是等于是乘以10，那就变 decibel. Okay? How do we calculate decibels? All right, now it's time for your calculator. To compare the intensities of 2 sounds, intensity 1 and intensity 2, which we will call I1 and I2, we place the larger value of the 2 in the numerator, that's the top part of a fraction, of this formula. You multiply 10 times the logarithm of the intensity 1 divided by intensity 2. Okay? You will also see this formula calculated using amplitude, air pressure. 这个是 using intensity. 我们也可以直接用 amplitude. Amplitude 是没有把空间算进去，可是你也可以直接用 amplitude 去算。那样的话呢，你要10 times the logarithm of intensity 1 squared divided by intensity 2 squared. 记得它是一个平方的一个关系，对不对？还记得是平方的关系。And then we simplify that to 20. So 20 times the log of intensity 1 divided by intensity 2 in decibels. 这个可以简化为这个. And we're just going to do this one example here. What is the difference in decibels between 3.5 and 0.0202 watts? 我们现在用瓦为单位. So, what are we going to do? We're going to multiply 10 times the log of 3.5 times 0.2. So what is the quotient of 3.5 divided by 0.2? 3.5 divided by 0.02, sorry, 0.02 is how much? 3.5 divided by 200, 0.02 is how much? Okay. 3.5除以 0.02 是多少? 175, right? 没有错. Now what are we going to do? We're going to take the log of 175. What's the log of 175? How much? Go ahead. 2.24 is good enough, okay? So it's the log of 175 is 2.24, and we need to multiply that by 10. What do we get? 22.4 decibels. Everybody follow that? 很简单吧? That's how we calculate decibels, or decibels. Okay, I kind of vary between the two. All right, next. A power ratio of 1 to 100. If the intensity of one sound is 100 times greater than that of another, then following the formula of I1 divided by I2 equals 100, the log of 100 is 2, and 10 times 2 is 20 decibels. So if the intensity of one sound is 100 times greater than another, we get 20 decibels. An intensity ratio of 1 to 100, or 0.01, yields an amplitude ratio of 0.1. 因为是平方关系，如果是 power 的话，它就是这样子。Okay? Okay? Power ratio of 1 to 2. However, if you were to hear the noise of an air hammer, 电钻，就是会挖马路的那个，很吵吧, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about? When they're trying to rip out the asphalt. Dong, 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 dong. All right, if we hear the sound of one of those, and then we added a second air hammer that was operating at the same time, if we added those two together, the increase in intensity would only be 3 decibels. Since it would only have an intensity ratio of 1 to 2, the intensity is 0.5, and an amplitude ratio of 0.707. And here is how we figure it. It's 40 divided by 20 is 2. The logarithm of 2 is 0.301. 301 times 10 equals 3 decibels. Can you believe it, or do you want to? And then the square root of 0.5, 因为它是个平方关系，从 intensity 到 amplitude, 它就是0.707. Did you follow this or not? Yes or no? It's okay to say no.
I don't really get the
Okay. Did you get everything before this? Okay. So here we're going to talk about the decibel difference. When we were talking in the previous slide about a power ratio of 1 to 100, 它的 decibel 的差别，就是这个声音跟这个来比的话，它的强度差100倍。把它换算成 decibel 的话，它的差别是20 decibels. Remember, we're using a logarithmic scale. Amplitude 是这样子的话，你还要取它的根 and then it comes out to the square root of that, because that's amplitude. But if we're talking about intensity, it's 1 to 100. 1 to 100是这样子，你把它算成把它decibel 算出来，它就是20分贝。So 它强度的差别是100倍，就是20 decibel. However, if we have one sound, 然后同样大小的声音把它加在旁边 不会像那个1对100变成20分贝那的差别，它是1乘以2，同一个声音乘以2 ，right? It has an intensity ratio only of 1 to 2，是1加1等于2了，等于是个0.5了，它的 intensity 就是0.5 ，that's a 差别 of 1 to 2。Amplitude 的话是0.707，你可以不要管那个 amplitude 都可以换算，它只是那个taking the square root, okay? Square root of 50, of 0.50. So if we have, for example, 4 to 2, 40 to 20, that's 2, 对不对? It's 4 divided by 2. The log of 2 is 0.301. Okay? This is a difference of only 2. 它等于是1加1等于2。是2份这个同样的声音 ，so 它的 ratio 是1对2。That all is clear? Yes or no? 我们有个很吵的声音，加上另外一个一样吵的声音，那就是1跟一个声音跟2个声音来比，那就是一半嘛，0.5了 ，right? Okay? You can say it's just two portions of the same sound. 所以我们是用0.5来算。And in that case, 它的关系就是2。If we take the log of 2 of 2, it's 0.301。再乘以10，它的 decibel 就是3 decibels. Okay? I think that should be okay. If you don't get it, go over it later. The tutorials online, you can look at it yourself. A power ratio of 1 to 4. Okay, a 6 decibel change in intensity means an intensity ratio of 1 to 4. That is 0.25，是不是1/4，对不对？1/4对1。With an amplitude ratio of 1 to 2, or 0.5. Amplitude 是 1/2，然后呢 intensity 是 1/4. So 100 divided by 25 is 4. The log of 4, 它的关系是1对4 right? 关系是1对4。我们来算它的 log. Try it on your calculator. Okay? What is the log of 4? Okay, the log of 4 is how much? Right, so it's 0.602. And that, when you take that log, 你看它的关系，你直接去算它的 log, 然后再乘以10，就是它的 decibels. That's actually pretty easy, right? So 你要看它的比例，它的强度 intensity 的比例1对2是怎样，那就是3 decibels. 1对4，那你那个 log 得到的是0.6左右，乘以10，那就变成6 decibels. Clear? Yumi? Not so clear?
I'm not very clear about what is
0.25. 哦，那这是表示它的关系是1对4。This is 1/4, right? 这是1/4，这是1对1/4的关系，所以我们用这个1/4来算，可以吗？ We have the intensity is 1 to 4， 就是如果它的强度这个跟这个来比，这个是我们的 base， 然后另外一个声音是它的强度是它的4倍，4倍的强度，它的关系就是4对1，那就是1/4，1对1/4。That okay? Yeah? Yes or no?
So what does it mean to have a 根号?
Oh, okay. First of all, for this one, are we okay for this one?
Yes.
But remember, this one is for amplitude. We've got two things going here. One is intensity, one is amplitude. And the relationship between amplitude and intensity is 平方. So if we want to switch it to amplitude, 我们要用根号把它换回 amplitude 正负。这个只是把 intensity 换算成 amplitude. That okay now? Because the relationship of this is this squared. 这个的平方就是这个，所以要把这个又还原变成 amplitude 的话，我们用根号。Okay? Yes? Miranda, okay? Or not completely?
Okay.
It's okay? Annie, okay? So actually, it's not that hard. 我们只是看比例，马上就可以算 decibel，并不难。用 logarithm，用 那个square root 还不用，那是要 amplitude 才需要 square root。如果你比较的是 intensity，你就这样直接算，就知道它的那个 decibel 有几个 ，OK 是几个 decibel。All right, from softest to loudest. Now we keep talking about the softest sound we can hear to the loudest sound we can hear. The intensity ratio between the faintest audible sound, that's the faintest audible sound, to the loudest sound we can tolerate, 能够忍受的。Okay, we can not only, we can just barely tolerate it. 你听太多真的会受不了，听一下下就勉强受得了，比那个还大，耳膜会震破，没办法。Okay, so this range from the very faintest sound to the very loudest sound that our ears can tolerate for a short period of time, 它那个 range 是多少？是 1 to 1 trillion. 1 to 1 trillion. It's 10 to the 12th power, right? 10 to the 12th power. The log of 10 to the 12th is 12. 它的 logarithm 当然就是12，对不对？它的指数。And 12 times 10 gives us the decibels. 所以从这个比例，就刚刚不是说1对2的比例，就可以马上算出它的 decibel 多少。1对4也是一样。现在是1对多少？我们最大能忍受的声音，它的尺度是1对12。And so 12 times 10 gives us how many decibels? 120 decibels. We can't listen to anything beyond 120 decibels and still keep our hearing. 我们最大就是能忍受的最大声的一个声音就是120分贝，那超过的话受不了了。OK， 一定会那个听力会受到损害，可以吗？ Are we okay with everything so far? Actually, we're just talking about the 比例。你知道强度的话，强度的比例，你马上就知道它的 decibels 多少。其实并不是真的那么难。And this is the approximate range of intensity that human hearing can perceive and tolerate. The eardrum would perforate 是会有破洞，它会有破洞。Instantly, upon exposure to a 160 decibel sound. 你如果那个音的强度，它的分贝数已经到160的话，你的耳朵马上就会震破掉了。Okay? So what happens between 120 and 160 is a lot of damage. 120已经不行了。So 不要去试，到了160，你的那个耳膜就马上就爆掉了。Okay? All right? I kind of like the pictures. I think they're cute. How much is a trillion? Now, 1 到 1 trillion. 1 trillion is 1 million, millions. 100万个100万. That's 1 trillion. So that's 1 plus 12 zeros. You can count them, right? Yes? Give me a little feedback here. 1 and 12 zeros? Are you nodding your heads, everybody? You, me? Yeah. All right. So this comes out to a very convenient number, though seldom used because it's so large, in Chinese, which is organized in units of 4 zeros instead of 3. In Chinese, you have 4个零4个零4个零这样子来算，对不对？ So from Qian, you have 1. You have the unit of 1, which is what sort of shifts it from one place over from the system we use in English. We use 3 from 1,000, and then we go 10,000, 100,000, million, we have a new unit. But at million, you don't have a new unit, you're by 1. You have 110,000s, right? Okay, Annie? All following? 对不对? And that's kind of hard when you're doing 口译, isn't it? When you're doing translation, when you're doing oral translation or interpretation especially, 你要马上把什么25 million 换算成英文. Can you do it right away? Very good. That's one to memorize because it's around the population of Taiwan. That's the way I do it actually. 百万富翁 is a millionaire, and 台湾是2000多少万现在？300多万吗？还是现在变更大了？好像人口成长现在并不快，可能还是2300呢。Okay, 2300万左右. You can use that to remember. The thing is that we keep getting shifted one place over, so it's hard to convert big numbers really easily from English to Chinese sometimes or vice versa. But 1 with 12 zeros comes out to a very convenient number because 3 is what we use, 4 is what we use. So if you multiply them, you get 12. 那表示这两个 system 在这个地方会合并。 对不对？又变成一个新的单位。So 1 plus 12 zeros is called what in Chinese? Right, very convenient. It's 兆. And finally, here are the decibel levels of some common sounds. The threshold of excellent youthful hearing. As I mentioned, the best hearing that we enjoy in our lives is when we are babies. 刚生的那个婴儿，他的听力是最棒的，最灵敏，最棒。So babies have the best hearing. And we continue to have quite good hearing right up until about your age. About 18, that's when our hearing starts deteriorating a bit. 从18岁，听力慢慢的会变得越来越差。Isn't that terrible to see? 18岁。
为什么？
It's just the way our bodies are designed. It doesn't mean your hearing gets bad. Teenagers still have very good hearing. Early 20s, you're fine. But after age 40, maybe, you'll start to notice 高频率已经不是那么清楚了。Over 50, say 40 to 50, you've probably lost most of the frequencies above, say, 14,000, 12,000. 大概12000、14000以上，你40岁以上可能有点问题。It doesn't bother you too much because we don't really need all those frequencies for human speech for most sounds in our environment. But you remember that for a while it was really popular to have a cell phone ring that had a very high frequency, so all the students could hear it, but the teacher couldn't hear it. However, some people are exceptions, and even at age 40 and 50, they have very good hearing. So they say, turn off that cell phone. It happens, okay. But normally, by that point, you're missing those high frequencies. So if it's over 14,000 hertz, you're probably, if you're over 40, you're going to have trouble. So this is the threshold is 门槛 threshold is 门槛 of youthful hearing, excellent youthful hearing. 你诞生下来，你可能是刚好听力不好，那不算。Okay, 一般的健康的婴儿 0 decibels, they will hear, just barely hear a sound. Normal breathing, and especially if you have good hearing, the threshold of good hearing, 一般的成人，你的听力很好 then it's about 10 decibels. 就是一般的成人，他听到的最小的声音，他可能要到10 decibels 才听得到。Okay? Soft whisper, when you have a secret you don't want to share with anybody, but everybody can still hear it. That's about 30 decibels. A mosquito buzzing can be really loud, can't it? When you're trying to sleep and it's right in your ear, that's louder than whispering. And you could all hear my whispering just now. So a mosquito in your ear is 40 decibels. That's a lot. Average townhouse rainfall. That's 一般的 townhouse 是一间房子接另外一间房子是连在一起的。That's a townhouse. 下雨的声音大概是50分贝. It's about 50 decibels. Ordinary conversation, not like I'm speaking now, I'm speaking kind of loud, but just you and your friends talking to each other, that's about 60 decibels. A busy street is about 70, but I would give it more for Taipei. I don't know. Actually, the streets are much, much better than they used to be. You know when you're trying to make a cell phone call and you're close to the street, what do you usually do? Can you hear if you're right next to the street? Usually I go into a store. 我会进到店里面去，因为太靠近那个马路的话 cell phone 真的很不容易听得清楚。Ordinary conversation 60, a busy street 70, it depends on how bad the traffic is. In Taipei, it honestly is much better than it was in the 70s. In the 70s, there was more traffic, it was louder, it was smellier, more polluted. So actually, it's much better than it was, but it's still very hard to make a cell phone call close to the road. A power mower, a car horn, or a fortissimo orchestra. 交响乐团，它的那个声音大小是 double F 是 fortissimo 是很强，或者按喇叭，或者是割草机。Which we know when we're trying to have class, it is often raining at the same time and they want to cut the grass. And we're trying to listen to these funny sounds and phonetics, right? We're competing with a power mower that's 100 decibels 左右. An air hammer that we've just been talking about, if you're at just about 1 meter is say about this long. If you're 1 meter away from an air hammer, it's going to be 120 decibels. And what do we know about 120 decibels? How do our ears feel about 120 decibels? Vivian? It's the loudest sound we're going to put up with. 你要比100 20分贝还要大声的话, we're going to leave. Our ears will say, no, this is no good. So that's our outer limit of loudness, is 120 decibels. Just stay away from anything louder than that. 120 itself is not good. Do you feel really comfortable when you've got an air hammer working away right next to you? It's pretty awful, right? So that's already the 极限 of our hearing. We don't want anything worse than that. We can hear more, but it's going to cause damage. A rock concert is worse, 130. And remember when I told you last time about that Sigur Rós concert I went to? I was outside the door. I just happened to be in the hallway that day in the Tiyuguan. And it was very boomingly loud. My whole body was vibrating. So rock singers normally have to wear earplugs or they will have damage quite quickly. That's 130 decibels. A jet engine at 30 meters. Don't try it. 150. And a rocket engine at 30 meters, getting ready for takeoff, that would be 180. Your hearing would be gone. You need to go to the hospital. Okay, so if you want more of these, they're online. Here's the range of human hearing, and this one is really interesting. This is where conversation takes place. And you can see it's about how many decibels to how many decibels at about 100 hertz. About how many? This is 40, this is 60, this is 80, so about 45, going up to about a bit over 70, right? So at 100 hertz, this is 100 hertz here, this is about the range that we use for human speech. And at higher frequencies, we can go higher. Human speech does go that high for which sounds? Right, for fricatives, very good. So fricatives are going to go up that high. And this is the normal range of human speech. We can have singing here in the middle. There's 1,000 hertz and higher for a soprano. They'll be going up pretty high. That's, all right, human conversation. What other things do we have here? Now, this is the line that measures what we can hear. This is the hearing threshold. 我们听力的门槛是用这条线画出来的. That means if a sound is really, really low, 它就是很低的一个声音，频率很低. We're getting close to 10 here. We can't really hear 10 hertz as a sound. It's more like beats. Dun, 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 dun. It has to be pretty loud. If it's about, say, 15, about 18 is our threshold of hearing. 大概18赫，我们就可以听成声音很低. But the volume has to be pretty loud because our hearing is not so sensitive for very, very low sounds. 声音很低很低的话，敏感度并不高，所以呢，它那个分贝要到多少左右？ Maybe about 95. So maybe 90 or more decibels before we can hear a sound that low. And you can do this online. There's a very interesting program. I think I posted it. Okay? So as the frequency goes up, the sound gets higher. Our sensitivity also becomes better. 就是声音从这个最低的大概18赫左右，我们的敏感度如果是那个声音越来越高的话，频率越来越高，我们的敏感度越来越好。所以频率很高的话，很小声我们也听得到；频率太低的话，一样小声的话我们听不到。敏感度这是我们的耳朵的敏感度啊，频率越高，我们比较听得清楚。Until we get to a certain point here where it turns around. So you can see this is a logarithmic scale. We start at, okay, from 10 to here is 100. But the same distance from 100 to here is 1,000. And then the same distance again from 1,000 to here is 10,000. So our hearing sort of starts getting less sensitive again at about what point? This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can see this is divided up into thousands. So at about, this is 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. What's this? About 4,000 what? What's our unit? Hertz, right? 这是4000赫左右。我们的敏感度又开始回转了，又开始比较不敏感了。So starting from 4,000 hertz, going up 5,000, 6,000, our sensitivity is getting a little worse. 就比较差. Up until about, here we have 10,000 and this is 11,000. 就是1,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,那以上的那个敏感度就不一定了，它可能会继续上升。有些人根本没有那些声音，看你的年龄，看你的听力有多好，看你的敏感度。All right, so this is from inaudible, we can't hear. This is the barely audible sound, 就是勉强可以听得到。It's getting better and better and better up to here, up to about 4,000 hertz, and then it starts falling off again. And then for older people, we're just going to be missing a lot of these frequencies. Conversation, here's the lawnmower that we were talking about. It's at 100 or about 100 decibels. And rock concerts is in this area and they label it as what? High risk. 就是高危险的区域. That means you're hurting your ears. And by this point, you're feeling terrible pain. And a gunshot is about that loud. I have not been that close to a gun right at my ear, but you can imagine it from movies and television. 就是很靠近耳朵的那个枪声的话，那个会痛，耳朵会很痛。Okay, this is all clear? And annotated equal loudness curves. Each band here means that we hear any particular sound along the way here. We hear is as about being equally loud. So it can be very quiet in terms of decibels. 它的那个 decibel, 它的 intensity 其实是很低的，可是听的跟这个是一样大声的感觉。因为这里敏感度差，这里敏感度很好，所以呢，每一条都是我们认为声音的大小是差不多一样的。This is clear? 可以吗？
So that is why we hear fricative. We are more sensitive to fricatives.
Well, yes, up to the point when our hearing is still good. You can just see where it falls on this, because we're good with high sounds, yeah.
So we regard fricatives as the sounds in high amplitude.
Amplitudes?
Have this kind of illusion.
Ask again.
I mean, because they are in very high frequencies, so when we hear it, we might think that it is loud, it's very loud.
Well, one thing is they are pretty loud. You know, we've got a lot of noise. They are pretty loud, and also the noise is scattered, so it doesn't sound harmonious. 它没有集中成一个音. So is also pretty loud, but shh, because it's so scattered, 然后不悦耳. So that's another reason why we feel it's loud. There's a chart in the book that compares the relative loudness of different sounds. We talked about it already, actually. In this chapter, it's also in another chapter, we'll see it. So different sounds have different loudness levels, different decibel levels, but it also depends, remember, on what? 不只是声音本身，而是什么会来决定它的声音大小。比方说来比的话，它分贝数都不一样，对不对？ But it's not just the sound itself. When we're hearing it in speech, what else will affect it? Let's go shopping. That's a bush. Where it falls in the sentence, whether it has stress or not, a lot of things, 它的长短，它有没有重音等等, those will all affect the level of sound, the loudness level. Okay? So, 不能一概而论这样讲. There are many different reasons involved. But one thing is, 因为它不太悦耳, that's one reason it sounds loud. What do you do? Well, you don't listen to the radio, but when you're listening to something, you're listening to a sound you like, a song you like, what do you often do? And then suddenly there's a song you don't like. 有没有一个动作? You turn the volume down, right? Is that right? 不爱听的那个歌，你是不是把那个大小声会把它调小声一点？对不对？ Do you do that or not? Sometimes? Okay, I'm really conscious of it. If it's a song I like, I turn up the volume. I really want to hear it. If it's a song I suddenly don't like, or if it's a commercial, I turn it way down. So, 不悦耳也是一个原因. All right, scattered frequencies. But everybody's clear what this is trying to say? It just means that a sound could be, in fact, it could have a very high loudness level, but we don't hear it as loud because our ears are not sensitive. But where our ears are sensitive, it can be very, very soft, and we hear it as equally loud. That's all it's saying. So, annotated equal loudness curves. The curves represent equal loudness as perceived by the average human ear. Equal loudness in fans, 它的单位叫 fan, P-H-O-N. 这是他们测出来的、定出来的一个度量衡单位，就是 fan。我们那个主观上觉得一样大声，我们可以用 fan 来量。So all of these are 10 fans, all of these are 12 fans, even though they have very different intensities. Our ear thinks they sound about equally loud. That's all clear? 可以吗 Bella, okay? Yeah? Sylvia, okay? Sound intensity in decibels does not directly reflect the changes in the ear's sensitivity with frequency and with sound level. 就是我们的耳朵有它自己的过滤的一个功能，所以它对不同大小的声音，在不同的频率有不同的反应。The ear is less sensitive to low frequencies, and this discrimination against lows becomes steeper for softer sounds. Curve for the average threshold of hearing, 一般人他勉强可以听得到，大概是这样画的。这个以下听不见，就是这个虚线以下一般人听不见。Okay? That's our threshold of hearing. 可以听到声音的门槛。The maximum sensitivity region for human hearing is around 3 to 4 kilohertz. That means kilohertz is 1,000 hertz and is associated with the resonance of the auditory canal. That means 我们听力最敏感的那个区域大概是3000到4000赫左右。That's something useful to know. That's worth putting in your notes. Our hearing is most sensitive at about 3,000 to 4,000 hertz. 为什么会这样子呢？因为耳道的关系。耳道本身有个共鸣，它的共鸣大概是3200、3500左右，3000到4000之间，是我们的耳道的共鸣。Remember what happens if we make a sound that corresponds to the resonance, the natural resonance of a container? 我们是不是一个共鸣箱？我们发出他喜欢的声音，它就会开始震动得很厉害，对不对？ Yeah? Not enough sleep. Okay. That's what happens with our auditory canal. 耳道就是这样，它是一个共鸣箱，它的范围大概是3000到4000赫左右，所以这个范围内我们声音最敏感、最棒，听力最好。Okay. SPL and SL. There are two common methods of establishing a reference level R. R 叫做 reference level, 就是我们的参考值。In decibel measurements, one uses 20 micropascals of a 1,000 hertz tone. 记得我们能听到最小的声音是20 micropascals. It's 2 100,000ths of a pascal. 还记得吗？前面这是能听到的最小的声音的值。我们如果发出的声音，我们先定它的频率是1000赫。So our sound is 1,000 hertz, and we are playing it just at the threshold of human hearing. 我们发出1000赫的那个强度是刚好我们的耳朵听得见的那个门槛。Okay? If we use this method, that is called what? Okay, SPL, decibel SPL. Okay? And SPL stands for sound pressure level. 这是不同的量，我们那个用 decibel 来计算的不同的方式。就是你的参考值是什么，它算的方式不一样。第一个是1000赫的声音，然后发出的声音是耳朵最勉强能听到的最小的声音，就是大概是20 micropascals。那个量法叫 SPL, sound pressure level。另外一个方法 uses the absolute threshold frequency for a tone at each individual frequency。那就是我们前面看过的那个表上面，它发出的声音看是几赫，每一个声音如果是100赫，它就用这个值 啊，如果是1000赫，他用这个值，他看我们听到声音，每一个声音的门槛，对不对？能听到最小的声音，而还听得见，它的门槛，每一个频率它有不同的一个基底，这样子。That's called SL, sensation level. OK， 第二种算法是 sensation level。第二种，你觉得哪一个会比较准？就我们的人的耳朵来说。哪一个比较符合我们人能听到的那个整个范围 ？The first or the second? The second, right. 第二个是它的整个设计是用我们自己的敏感度的不同的这个所有的变化作为它的基础来计算的。第一个就是全部标准化，我们用1000赫，也不管你的敏感度，就是用1000赫来算。So the first one 是比较标准化，而第二个是按照我们自己的听力的敏感度来设计的。So SPL and SL, I'm not going to test you on that. Okay. Now, let's look at the change in power measured in watts, change in decibels, and then the change in apparent loudness. If there is an increase, 它声音变大的那个幅度啊，用瓦用 power 来算的话，你乘以1.3的话 that's about 1 decibel difference. It's the smallest audible change in sound level. It's noticeable only if two sounds are played in succession. So if there's a difference of 1 decibel between two sounds, 你听得见，勉强听得见，这个声音比那个稍微大声一点点 but only in what situation? Under what circumstances? If you, Annie? Okay, it's over here on the right. 隔的那个上面，右边上面。The only time we can tell the difference between these two sounds is if we do what? Play them one after the other. Do, 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 do. If we play them one after the other, we can hear a difference. But if we just play them out of the blue, we can't tell, what the level is. So that's 1 decibel. If you play two sounds in succession, 你听得出这个声音比那个声音大声一点点. That's 1 decibel. Okay? If we double the power, remember we talked about 1对2的关系是差不多3分贝的关系，还记得吗？ We spent a lot of time on that. I see these nods. Some of you got it anyway. That's about 3 decibels. We've doubled the power. Remember the air hammer and another air hammer? 这是1对2的关系。我们得到的是 3 decibels. It's just perceptible. 我们就还听得到这两个不一样大声。If the power is increased, multiplying it by 3.2, that's about a 5 decibel difference. Clearly noticeable. 很明显听得出这两个是不一样大小的声音。If we increase the power 4 times, then that is about a 6 decibel difference. Power 乘以4对1的关系，我们已经算过了，还记得吗？ That's about a 6 decibel difference. It's a bit less than twice as loud. 还不到2倍大声的感受。If it's 10 times as loud, the second sound is 10 times as loud as the first one, that is a 10 decibel change. And it's a bit more than twice as loud. 比2倍大声的感受还要再多一些。And if we multiply it by 100, if it's 100 times the power of the first sound, that's about 20 decibels. Remember, 1对100，我们算出来的是分贝。It's much louder, which is not a very precise description, but it will have to do. Amplitude of overtones. We talked about the human voice having overtones every time we talk. So, we've got an F0, and then we've got 乘以1乘以2乘以3一路上去，对不对？ All right, those are the overtones. The harmonics or overtones are also called partials of a sound. They decrease by 12 decibels for each doubling of frequency. So, going from 100 to 200 hertz, 我们降下了12分贝。Going from 200 to 400, 又降下了12分贝。Remember we said that the overtones are not as loud as the fundamental frequency, and that's why it's hard to hear them as separate sounds. 因为它的那个音量会一直降下来，它声音比较小。Remember? Yeah? So, every time we double the frequency, that means every time we get an octave, 那是8度音，每一次是频率的8度音，就是乘以2乘以4啊等等乘以8，每一次是400乘以2，800乘以2，1600等等。Or each is the equivalent of a musical octave， 都是8度音。Okay, so the overtones will go down 12 decibels for each doubling of frequency. However, in human speech, 其实不到12分贝。It's because 我们的嘴唇像个 piston. What's a piston? Louder? What's a piston? 活塞。It's pushing the air out. 嘴唇好像会把空气推出去。For that reason, it's increasing the pressure back. 这些 partials or overtones 声音一直越来越低，越来越低。可是到了嘴唇，嘴唇还要把它故意好像踢它一脚，把它推出去。So we got some air pressure back. 它又恢复了一些原来失去的一些气压。That will strengthen the amplitude of the speech signal. This is called the radiation factor. 就是嘴唇像活塞的这个功能，这个叫做 radiation factor or radiation impedance， 不需要背。So for every octave， 每个8度音本来是已经减弱了12分贝，它又加回6分贝，加了6分贝回去。So the net decrease in amplitude of the overtones of a speech sound is how much per octave? 6 decibels. So each octave going successively for each octave of each of the overtones, each increase of each doubling of the frequency of the overtones, it's going to reduce it 12 decibels, but the lips add back in 6 decibels, so we end up still with 6 decibels per octave, going down only by 6 per octave. Okay? Yes?
Does it apply to any sounds or just for sounds like bilabial sounds?
It seems to apply for everything. According to what I've read, it applies to everything because the lips are still pushing out the sound.
Even if it's but our lip just...
Yeah. That's true. That's true. I haven't looked into the details of that. That's an interesting question. For B, you get more of a feeling the lips are pushing it out. But I think this is just something added back in. 人的声音本来就是这样子. So that's a good question. I'd have to look into it further. Okay? Frequency in decibels, ranges, and limits. Here is a link to a tone rising in frequency to cover much of the range of human hearing. And we'll have to see how this works. You may have to cover your ears, so be ready if all works well. Not at the beginning. Okay, there we go. It was rising in frequency to cover much the range of human hearing. 我们那个听的那个区域那个范围差不多就是这样子。Here is a link to a tone going down progressively, first in 6 steps of 6 decibels each, then again in 12 steps of 3 decibels each. So you're going to hear a sound going from loud to soft. It's going to go down in only 6 units the first time, and each unit will be going down by 6 decibels because we were just talking about decreases of 6 decibels and 12 decibels in the overtones, right? So this will give you a more concrete idea of what that means in terms of actual sound. Okay, so the first one is 6 decibels, and there'll be 6 steps, and the second one is going down. I'm sorry, the second one is not by 12 decibels, it's by 3 decibels each. So the second time it's 12 steps, but we've divided the 6 decibels in half to 3 decibels. So there'll be 12 steps. Each time it goes down by 3 decibels. So you can hear it's slowly getting softer. Okay? Did you count them? The first one is 6, second one is 12. Just listen one more time. The first time it's going down by 6 decibels at a time. And the second one it's going down by 3 decibels at a time in 12 beats. Okay? That was 3 decibels at a time at the end. And here are some links to explore. If you're interested in this stuff, there's all kinds of things online, and you can get more information here. Do you agree? Took a while for you to react. Okay, enough on decibels for now. That's it. Okay, any questions?
There was this topic on the air hammer where if there's 2 air hammers, it's 1 to 2.
Right.
So if we change it to other sounds, does it also work that way?
Then you're going to have to measure the different levels of the sounds. It's because the sound is the same, so it's just 1 plus another 1. We can do that. For the other ones, you're going to have to measure the different,
But it's also only 1 sound plus.
added onto another. Yeah, yeah. Okay, good question. Anything else? All right, 有没有一头雾水? All right, I didn't expect you to get all of it, but maybe pieces of it were clear and the overall idea is clear. What I hope is that you got the overall idea of how it works. The details are actually not that hard. If you go through it with a calculator, you think about it, you'll get it. It's not a big deal. This is the hardest thing that we do in the 2 semesters of phonetics. But actually, it is not that hard if you sit down with it. If you were a science or engineering student or math student, it would be no big deal at all. It's just that we do less math where we are now. But it is not that hard of a thing. If you don't get the details, it's fine too. It's just important to understand sort of how it works. The main thing for decibels is they work on a logarithmic scale. That you need to remember. So if something increases by 10 decibels, it's 100 times as loud. So you have to watch out for that. As you see the decibel level going up, you know that our whole range is 1 to 120. So if you see a difference of 10 decibels, that's a huge jump. And we are more sensitive down here, less sensitive up here. And that's how we can handle so many different sounds. If they're very loud, very soft, our ears will adjust. Any questions, Sylvia? Any? No? Everybody give some feedback. Good.
Can't really understand the counting in amplitude. Why we have to divide it by 4 and not?
Oh, because if we are just counting amplitude, we're only taking into account energy and time. All we're counting is energy and time. But with intensity, it's energy, time, and area. When we spread it out over an area, it's going to be 被冲淡. So amplitude 和 intensity 的关系是平方的关系。你要 amplitude 变成 intensity， 你就算它的平方。可是你要从 intensity 到 amplitude 呢，要怎样 ？Take the square root. You take the square root. Okay? Did that explain it? It's because we were switching from amplitude to intensity and intensity to amplitude. That one that you were asking, we were going from intensity to amplitude, so we had to take a square root to get back here. We start with this. Its square is this. So if we want to go from this back to this, we have to take its square root and go back.
What about 就是在强度的时候，我们是4除以1。
它如果它的 amplitude 是1对2的关系，它的强度是1对4。And we're always using numbers 是0点多少，所以你用乘的话，它的数字会变小。So we take the amplitude and then we square it and we get this. Square 通常数字会变大，可是0点多少它会变小。所以它是从这个变这个，它数字会变小，因为分配在比较广的一个区域。That explain it? That's very confusing. I had to work on that too at the beginning when I was sorting this out. But that makes it clear, doesn't it? So intensity is spreading out the sound. So 它被冲淡了，距离越远，我们越听不见。Okay? So we're using 0点多少，然后算它的平方的时候，它就变小了。Okay? Anything else? That was a very good question. Anybody just give one sentence feedback? You can say I'm really confused or I'm very sleepy is okay, but everybody give one sentence of feedback. Sylvie?
Well, I learned it using middle school, and so it's mainly the language problem.
Okay, okay. So you just learned the different names for the things. So it wasn't that new for you. Okay, but did you learn about decibels? You did? In what school?
Junior high.
Really? They taught decibels. That's good because most of my students tell me they haven't learned about amplitude or decibels or frequency. They just haven't learned that much about it. Students tell me. So I guess you were lucky. Okay.
I just wonder in what kind of situation will I say one sound is loud, twice as loud as another sound?
Probably when you're, for example, if you're going to have a concert and then you have to set up the auditorium and the speakers, you really need to know this stuff.
Okay, I just want to maybe have an example for this. I don't know because I was trying to identify like two sounds in that the
Graph. Oh yeah.
we just have it,
Uh-huh.
and it's hard for me to tell which sound is twice as loud as another.
Yes, that's true. It goes by very fast, but they have very controlled experiments when they want to figure out what a fan is. They will play this sound and then another sound. And then you say, you know, what is the difference between the two? And then they'll find when just about everybody agrees, this one seems to be about twice as loud. It's only two sounds in succession. If it's a bunch, 会耳花了，不是眼花了，会耳花了。But if you have a very controlled experimental situation, you hear two sounds, you can probably identify, now that one sounds about twice as loud as this one. After they play lots of pairs of sounds for you. Most people agree.
Oh, that's very interesting.
I think it's very interesting too, and that's why they are able to make a graph like that with that kind of a unit. If they didn't find a whole bunch of people who agreed, they wouldn't have been able to do it. We can do that with frequency as well, for pitch and also for loudness. So they tested huge numbers of people, and they found the 平均值, and they found people mainly agree, even though it seems very subjective, right? If you get two sounds in a row, different pairs of sounds in a row, it's not that bad. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay.
I just learned how to calculate the decibels, but not, the teacher didn't explain so much about it.
You mean, in school before? Okay, so then it was pretty clear to you. Not so difficult,
A little difficult.
but not so bad. Okay, so both of you and Sylvie, both had some background before. I'm sure that made it much easier. Okay, Amy?
It's so very confusing.
This is online, so just go to page 12. It's page 12 in Phonetics 2. You can go over it in the safety and calm and peace of your own little space. I find it hard to do these things in a group. I have to go home and then think about them myself, think them through. This one took a lot of thinking through for me. I love science. I'm okay with math, but it's not what I usually do, so I had to work hard to come up with this. And it was mainly because of those two paragraphs that we read in class last time. When we were going to start the tutorial, we just finished the one page instead. Those two paragraphs, I got so many questions from students. What is this? What is that? What does he mean? That's why I did it. And then it took me a long time. I did lots of research, mostly on the internet. I had different people look at it. Professor Ladefoged looked at it. My son's physics teacher looked at it. A former student of mine who was in the physics department also gave me some suggestions. There may still be mistakes in it. So if any of our viewers of this video notice anything that they think needs fixing, please email us and then we will fix it. So I've improved it. I've fixed some things over the years. But overall, I think it's reasonable. At least it explains things more than those two paragraphs did. Okay, any other reaction other than it looks kind of confusing, Amy?
I also don't really understand what Amy was asking, the part about
About the square and the square root?
the amplitude amplitude ratio that they
Okay. Just to summarize once more really quickly, we've got two ways of measuring sound pressure differences that we perceive as sound. One of them is just take energy plus time, that's all. 只有工作量和时间两个. That's amplitude. Just air pressure, the energy involved plus time, just those two things. But if we add in spreading out over an area of space, then it's intensity. And when we go from amplitude to intensity, we square it. 要算它的平方. And because all of these numbers are less than 1, 它是1以下, 所以你在算平方的时候它会变小. So, starting from amplitude, we have only work or energy plus time. If we add in space, it's going to get spread out. The sound is going to go down. That's intensity. Then we square it to get to intensity from this measure. It's just, that's the main thing. And that is actually kind of tough to understand. You need to think about it a while. But if we're only looking at work plus time, 那还好算。可是没有把它那个分配在空间上的那个因素算进去，因为它一分配在空间上，它声音很快就变得很小，所以必须要有一个折算的一个方法，一个换算的方法，那就是用 square，take the square， 它分配，它会变成1比1还小的一个数字啊，它会变成比较小，比原来那个数字还小。That sort of help? You might want to spend some time on it after class. Okay, go ahead. I needed a lot of time with it. So sometime 已经很客气了. Yeah, I needed a lot of time with this.
I also need more time to do it.
那个1对2跟1对4吗？刚刚那个吗？
the whole thing.
The whole thing? Was there anything you did get out of it?
At first, I'm still wondering about the relationship between air pressure and decibels.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so everybody's asking pretty much the same question. You're just going to have to think about it for a while. It's just energy and time, and then if we add in space, it's going to turn into intensity. When we get 分配在空间上的那个值的时候，我们就是用那个来算 decibels. Actually, we can use just the plain amplitude 也可以算，可是要 square. 从这个到这个有个 square 的关系，它其实比例是一样的。你只是要记得，从 amplitude 到 intensity 你必须要 square 就好了。That's because we're spreading it out over space. The number needs to get smaller because it's getting quieter. 看多长的距离，它的声音就会相对的变得比较小。That's what intensity does. Okay? Anything else? Anything that you got out of it that you sort of remember that was useful? For example, the sensitivity of the human ear at different frequencies. Yeah. That I remember. Okay, anything else you remember that was useful or clear? 没关系，慢慢想。Okay. How about Yumi?
I think the best thing about harmonic, so our overtones will decrease by 12 decibels, or in human is only 6 decibels. I think that is very useful.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's the thing that I'm very confused at the first time in chapter A.
Ah.
About harmonics.
Oh, okay.
I really want to figure out
How they become smaller. Okay, now we have a formula. Yeah. Okay, so good. Something made sense. Good. Okay, Miranda?
I guess I have to review it after class.
That's fine. Can you pick out something that you remember that impressed you?
I think the facts, the easy facts, like our limits of louder sounds.
Okay, that's good enough. Okay, Wendy? You missed part of it.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and review and study around. But I'm impressed by the each is to 12 decibels.
The overtones. Okay.
I knew it before, but I didn't know why. And I'm going back to review
Maybe you can do it with your boyfriend, or you can talk to him after you've reviewed it.
It's going to teach a lot for me. I'll get like too much emotion.
头会爆炸. Okay, so look at it yourself first. Yeah. Okay, and Tina.
I think I really need more time to think about it.
Yeah. Okay, can you pick out something that you remember that impressed you?
Maybe the sensitivity of our ear.
Right. There's a difference of 1 trillion, right? Okay, that was that. I warned you about it, but it's not really that bad. I mean, I think the big problem was mainly about this idea of power and intensity, 这两个. It's not a big deal. 它其实有一个一定的比例的关系, so it's, not that important. It's just a few more details so you know more about how loudness works. But overall, I think it just helps you understand something that was not really covered very thoroughly in the book. That's it. We need a break. Can we just go straight through? There's only 10 minutes of class left. Can you make it? If you really have to go to the bathroom, you can run. All right? 再撑个10分钟. Okay, let's turn this off actually. We're probably not going to have time to go through all the exercises. 10 minutes is not really enough unless you think it is. Because that was next on our agenda for today, was going through the exercises. Let me just ask you first, did anybody decipher the spectrogram? Oh, sigh. Sigh. Did anybody get it? Did you get any words?
At the end of the sentence, it said he said.
He said? Nope. Nope. But that was not too bad actually, because of the s is right. We got the s right. Yeah. Anybody else? I bet you can get the first word.
I have mine.
Yes, the first word is my. All right? Because we know that I pretty well by now, don't we?
Yeah.
We've covered it a few times in other spectrograms. And lai, ngai, nai do not make good first English words of a sentence. So my. Just using phonotactics, if you had the I, it was probably not so bad. And then there's another I.
Yeah.
Where is that? Right, it's the fourth segment is I as well. So you've got 2 I's and you've got the first word my. Anything else that we recognize? We've got this, that's the third to the last. And do we have another s? Where is it? Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the 7th segment, right? It looks like a s, but compare it to the s on the right. Do they look the same? Which one is weaker? First or the second? Very often when we see a weaker fricative, what might the reason be? It was supposed to be voiced, but it was devoiced. So that tells you that this sound is probably z. We've got another sound. And we've got the f 2 segments before that they gave you already. And we've got I, so we've got if. My something if. My life? There's a vowel before that z, so you don't have to put it right there. There's a vowel before the z, so you don't have to worry about the z. What is the word? You had the right idea. Most of you had it. Forget about the z. Huh? My wife is. We got it. My wife is. You did it. Well done, Yumi. My wife is. What else? What's after z? It looks like an doesn't it? Equal distribution. My wife is so he's going to say something about his wife. No, it's not sh. Do we see a burst there? It's an aspirated voiceless stop, right? So it's either what or what or what? PT or K. It's either PT or K.
It's not a K because there's no velar pinch.
No velar pinch. Well done. Good. No velar pinch. It's not a K. That leaves T and P. Which one is the louder of the two? Right. Does this one look kind of loud? It does look pretty loud, doesn't it? Okay, yeah, it could have been the printout. And then what do we have? Look at the beginning of the next segment. That's obviously a vowel because it's so dark, right? What's the beginning of the segment? Look at the 分配 just for like a teeny tiny sliver. 前面一点点那个 format 的分配看起来像什么? It looks like what? Or a, doesn't it? It looks like or a because it's fairly evenly distributed. Not quite like a, so it's actually not a. It's either a or a, right? And then what do we have? We have it sort of getting mushy and lighter, so what is that probably? Archie, we've got a drop off of F2 and F3. We'll worry about that one later. They already give you the L and the N anyway. 它已经提供了, right? And then we've got, what do we see right after that N? We've got another voiceless stop. You can see another spike there. It's a bit faster than the other one. The first one was longer. But what does this one look like? It could be, and it's voiceless, right? Well, no. Actually, I see a little bit of a voice bar there. There's a little bit of a voice bar there. So PTK, PTG, what's the next part? The next part is a vowel. What does that look like? Does it look pretty evenly distributed? So it could be might be an might be a schwa here, right? And then after that, what do we have? We've got a big blank, except there's some voicing. So a blank with some voicing might be a voiced stop, right? Probably a voiced stop. And what kind of a voiced stop do you find after an sound in English at the end of a word? We often find right? 你可以用英文的这个常态，它的那个常出现的一些syllable patterns 来猜。So it is some kind of a voiced stop at the end of a word after a schwa. There's a good chance it's And then we've got another big blank, but we've got another big bunch of aspiration. So what's that? What do we have after the d? If we see almost nothing there, what is it? Usually? It's usually what kind of a stop? Do you see any voicing? No voicing at all, so what do we have? Voiceless stop, probably. Now, does it look like the t? We've already looked at two t's. Does it look like them? No, it doesn't, so it's probably not t. And anything else? Is it really loud? Not quite as loud, doesn't look really extremely loud. And it's kind of lower. And it's kind of lower. So it doesn't look like t. And it's lower and sort of quieter. Well, let's keep going. How about the vowel again? Does it look like E? Does it look like E? F2 isn't high enough for E. F2 would have to be really high, and F1 would be lower probably. And we've got the S after the vowel, but there's something kind of going on between the vowel and the S. And then we've got another vowel before the very last segment, and what does that look like? That looks like a schwa, doesn't it? And what comes after the schwa? What does that kind of sketchy line pattern look like? Looks like a nasal. So what do we probably have at the end? Un, or but does it look like Doesn't look velar because, as Sylvie has pointed out for the other one, I don't see any velar pinch there. So it's probably either or un, right? You've got a lot of clues now. Okay, see if you can get it by next class, by Wednesday. Anybody cracked it? Okay, that's a lot of clues. We're going to leave that one right there. Try to get it by Wednesday. Don't knock yourself out. You know, don't get too upset with yourself if you don't get it, but try. And the next one is show me a spotted hyena. We need to segment that. Since we have just a few minutes, let's see if we can get through some of this. It said to make a spectrogram of a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. What measurements did you get for F1, 2, and 3 of these 4 words? Do you have them written down? Okay, Vivian, how about for bird? What did you get?
I didn't find the correct.
She didn't find the.
Audio font.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Just read it yourself. That's what I did.
Oh, I thought I should find.
You know, that's a good way of thinking, but in fact, since it was hard to get, I didn't want to find it either. It was too much trouble, so I just recorded it. So why don't you, for next time, record this yourself with Prat. And then all you have to do is put your cursor on the point you want to measure. Will tell you how many hertz it is. So use Prat, make it display a spectrogram, and then just put your cursor on each point, on each formant that you want to measure, and you can get the answer.
So the Pratt can get the formats for you.
They can do it. That's one way to do it. It's not completely reliable. You can try that too. That's fine. Do it visually. Just put the cursor where you want it on the point, and then it will give you a number. Okay? The formats it gives you is in red dots, and they're not always correct, but they're useful as a reference. If you want to do that too, that's fine. But just try it visually and put the cursor on each format, and you'll get the value. It will show the value on the left. 它会显示出是几赫. Okay? Do that for Wednesday. For each of the 4 words, F1, 2, and 3. And it says, does this way of measuring vowel similarity correspond with your auditory judgment of their similarity? 就是说你的那个 form and data 就母音和母音之间比较相近的地方，你觉得那些音是相近的音吗？ That's what they're saying. And then E should have been pretty easy. You just have to put the numbers in. Did anybody have trouble with E? Any trouble with E? It's a very straightforward formula. He gives you all the numbers. You just get your calculator and figure it out. And the same for F. You need 2 sets of values for F because one is using air as a medium, and the other one is helium. In Chinese is hai, right? And that makes you sound like Donald Duck. When you have helium, when you're breathing helium, you sound like Donald Duck. We haven't talked about that? Okay, let's see if we can get one really fast. Helium is poisonous. I don't recommend trying this. But I did try it before myself, and I listened to other people trying it. Let's go to YouTube. Hang on. Okay, here's some kids playing. I've seen this one before. They're inhaling helium from a balloon. Inhaling. That's how you sound when you inhale helium. Have you tried it before, Vivian?
So some people use it on TV.
That's right, that's enough. Just hang on. Okay, so you can hear those really high-pitched voices if you inhale helium, like from a balloon. 对，氦气吸进去的时候, what is the reason for it? Why does it sound like you're talking like Donald Duck? Why does that happen? This question gives you sort of the cue or clue.
The speed of the waveform is much faster than we do in the air.
Right, so the speed of sound in ordinary air is about 35,000, But in helium, sound moves much, much faster. 它的阻力比较小，声音传得好快，好快。And so if you have a very fast movement, you're going to get a high pitch, high frequencies. So for this one, make sure that you calculate the resonances of the vocal tract for both regular air and for helium. 有两套. Okay, it will go much faster in helium. That's why it's 92,700 centimeters per second instead of 35,000 centimeters per second. Okay? And then, all right, G we've already done. Right? We've already done that one in class. 那个是已经做过了. And then C, right, and then see what you can say about this spectrogram. So G and H we've already done in class. What was the answer to those? What was that spectrogram? I dislike some linguists, right? Okay. And then for I, this one also just takes a little bit of thought. I is not hard. If you just think about V and P, those points, the perturbation theory, and it refers you to figure 8.2. Okay, so the velocity and pressure points, just think about that because there's a puzzle here. Something happens to the U vowel in Californian English, but this theory doesn't seem to explain it very well. The perturbation theory doesn't explain it very well. So those are all the exercises. Do you have any quick questions before we go? Because we need to mark these in class on Wednesday. Try to figure out the rest of the spectrogram. It should be easier now. Amy? Yeah?
The G in our book,
Mm-hmm.
on the CD, it's actually part of A.
G is part of A.
Yes. Of the problem of A.
Oh, it's supposed to be part of A.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay, thank you.
I also don't know which spectrogram it was talking about.
I think that they were talking about the other one, but I thought they were talking about it, but it doesn't matter because we're doing both. We've already done, I dislike some linguists, 已经做过了. And then we will do this one in part A. So basically, don't worry about G and H. Okay? Whichever one they're referring to, we're already covered. We have covered it or we will cover it. Okay? Any other questions about the exercises? 还有问题吗? Let's go. Amy, anything else? We're done. Okay, we'll see you on Wednesday. Don't forget vowels and consonants.